I'm Shannon Martin. Tonight, concerns about staff shortages continue to grow.
We do anticipate a number of absences over the next several weeks.
We'll tell you how Toronto is preparing for a number of unplanned staff absences. Plus,
it looks like we'll have a day or two to figure out how we're going to support our kids with whatever decision is being thrown our way.
just days before students are set to return to the classroom, parents and doctors speak out as Ontario's back-to-school plan remains a mystery.
I was like 10 years old and I'd never seen like even one picture that featured a Black person in it.
You'll meet some of the inspiring people who are the latest recipients of one of the country's highest civilian honors. Thanks for joining us. Lots of news on the COVID pandemic front. We start tonight with the City of Toronto bracing for staff shortages and making contingency plans. Dahlia Ashry kicks off our coverage.
The city is once again gearing up for a worst-case scenario as Omicron continues to quickly spread during this fifth wave.
We do anticipate a number of absences over the next several weeks.
An unprecedented number of people becoming infected with this virus over the next few weeks is very high.
A number of city services were shut down March 2020, and staff were forced to isolate at home and were redeployed. The city says it plans to take a similar approach because of Omicron cases. They're also anticipating a shortage in essential employees, including paramedics and firefighters.
And in particular with paramedic services, is changing the response protocol temporarily in partnership with Toronto Fire, so that Toronto Fire Services will respond to those low priority calls. This frees up our ambulances to focus on those high priority calls because of absences.
This infectious diseases expert says frontline workers face an increased risk of exposure.
When they're responding to emergency calls, there's often not a great deal of time to ensure that you are perfectly suited up in terms of PPE being exactly as it should be because of the nature of these complaints.
Also, the city is making efforts to mitigate absences at mass vaccine clinics. Last week, 340 physicians volunteered to step in. The city also plans to close down many of its non-essential in-person counter services as of January 4th, and remote services will be provided instead.
There are some in-person services that are required to be in person, such as marriage licenses, parks and recreation type services that we may need to pause. That's just advising people that may happen.
Previously, the city only used rapid tests in long-term care and child care environments. This time, it will be expanded to police, fire, paramedics, water, and public health. They are also required to be fully vaccinated and have appropriate PPE.
We've got to do everything that we can to protect those really essential core responders.
Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
New Year's Eve is less than 48 hours away now. So what about all those big outdoor celebrations? So far, Mississauga has decided to cancel its planned party, while Brampton says its event is on.
There's been a bit of a movement to cancel outdoor events. That's not the advice that I've been getting from public health. And unless I get a recommendation to cancel outdoor events, that's not our plan. Right now, we have added additional protocols to the upcoming outdoor events to make sure that they are as safe as possible.
Mayor Brown says those additional protocols will include limited capacity, physical distancing, mandatory masking, and registration to attend. Meanwhile, Toronto is planning a New Year's event that will be streamed live online. Think pre-recorded performances from iconic Toronto music venues, as well as a fireworks display over Lake Ontario. A big question remains tonight for parents and caregivers. Are kids returning to the classroom as planned on Monday? So far, there is no word yet from the provincial government, with Omicron spreading fast. Many are questioning if it's safe. Ali Chiasson has that part of the story tonight.
Are you guys going to go back next week? I'm furious. This takes like weeks to prepare for. And now it looks like we'll have a day or two to figure out how we're going to support our kids with whatever decision is being thrown our way.
The situation has changed since kids were last in school. The highly transmissible Omicron variant is driving case counts to levels we haven't seen before.
I really feel like right now we're in the eye of this storm with this new variant.
All the while, the Ontario government decides if and when Ontario students might return to class, originally planned for Monday.
The fact that there isn't a decision is just completely disrespectful to our kids and to families.
In the absence of such a decision, there is debate on whether it's safe to do so just yet.
People are aware that this is a very transmissible variant and every sector of society is going to be impacted.
Dr. Alana Golden penned an open letter to the Premier and Education Minister urging them not to prolong school closures and manage exposures with a robust test-to-stay program.
Schools are going to have cases, industries are going to have cases, households are going to have cases. There's nothing inherent in the school institution that makes it more dangerous, more risky for kids, more risky for teachers or for households. And the harms of closures far outweigh any perceived benefit of keeping kids at home.
The argument for extending the break?
I think extending it to about 1 week from opening January 3rd, which is around the corner, to January 10th, or maybe another week after that, I think that's a safer option. In the meantime, let's vaccinate the kids as much as possible.
The education minister hasn't said when he'll make a decision. Premier Ford said an announcement will come in the next day or two. Whenever it does, Dr. Anna Banerjee says it should come with the following recommendations.
I think parents need to get better fitting masks, just a small surgical mask covering your face that's loosely fit around the face isn't going to do it.
And move kids' eligibility for the second dose of the vaccine from 8 weeks to a 3-week interval.
If our goal is to keep kids safe, get them the second dose sooner and get the kids vaccinated, and then they can go back in a safer situation.
Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Ontario hit another record high when it comes to daily cases, more than 10,400. But that daily reported COVID count might not be the best picture of Omicron's impact in Ontario. Experts say case numbers are likely much higher than reported. Our Samantha Beattie dives into the data for us.
Today's numbers reveal a quarter of people are testing positive for COVID-19. Experts say the actual number of cases is significantly higher.
In the situation we're in right now, it's probably even optimistic to assume that we detect 1 in 5 cases.
Explosive growth driven by the Omicron variant that the science table predicted and scientists picked up from monitoring Ontario's wastewater.
Around 2 weeks ago, a rapid shift to a major uptick in Omicron. So normally we can monitor the wastewater and we see Delta at a lower level, and then all of a sudden Omicron just shot through the roof.
A new Public Health Ontario study suggests those infected with Omicron have a 54% lower risk of hospitalization or death. But with so many cases, it may not matter.
If we end up getting numbers, 20 times higher, let's say, then we're no better than we were with Delta.
In the last week, reported COVID cases have climbed from a daily average of 3,500 to more than 9,000. That number is on pace to double every 5 days. Experts are most concerned about patients in the ICU. They've increased from 168 last Wednesday to 190 today. The province has hundreds more intensive care beds, but hospitals facing staffing shortages don't have as much capacity as in past waves.
To get above 500 or 600 beds right now is probably going to be very challenging. And it's going to require either patient movement across the province.
The number of patients hospitalized with COVID have increased to over 700, but Chagla warns some may have gone to the hospital for other conditions not related to the virus.
Unfortunately, being able to pull out who needs to be actually hospitalized for the COVID-19 versus who needs to be hospitalized and has COVID-19 is also starting to get tricky.
A Premier's office spokesperson tweeted the province has asked hospitals to update daily reporting to distinguish between these types of patients and expects to begin receiving it in the coming days. Samantha Beattie, CBC News, Toronto.
Some hospitals in southwestern Ontario say they're being forced to make some tough decisions as COVID spreads and the healthcare system feels the strain. Katerina Georgieva has that part of the story.
Once again, no more visitors. That's the latest policy change at Windsor Regional Hospital, Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare, and Erie Shores Healthcare in Leamington.
Yeah, not an easy decision, certainly. And I know it's a frustrating one for many in the public, and one I certainly would feel the same about, most likely.
There are exceptions: dying patients, palliative care, childbirth, and minors. Hospital officials say that they made this decision in order to protect patients and their staff. At this time, despite high case rates, COVID hospitalizations in Windsor-Essex are relatively low compared to other waves. 12 COVID patients at Windsor Regional, 3 at Erie Shores, but that may change.
We do anticipate post-Christmas holidays that we will see an increase or an uptick in the number of COVID cases in the hospital. So we know there is a community burden of COVID, and we anticipate that will translate into admissions in the coming days and weeks.
Meanwhile, in Sarnia-Lambton, Blue Water Health has once again canceled non-urgent surgeries to redeploy staff to other areas of care.
It was a difficult decision. We had to have multiple meetings and look at all possibilities to try to avoid it, actually. But what happened is we've been experiencing extra patient load in addition to, it's a double whammy, in addition to staffing shortages.
Twice as many staff are away than what they're used to. They're sick or in isolation. So even though that hospital has just 17 COVID patients in its care, it's growing more difficult to manage.
If you talked to me a year ago, 17 would have been less of an issue because we had full staffing. A year later or 20 months later, with people exhausted, retirements, not too many people want to do this, early retirements, people getting sick in the community because this particular variant is more contagious, so it's affecting more people, especially our own staff.
Meanwhile, in Windsor-Essex, the local health unit reported nearly 1,000 new cases since Christmas Eve. And the medical officer of health says that by the end of this month, he expects Omicron to be the dominant strain in this region. Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
Turning now to the other big story tonight, the one-time girlfriend of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein has been found guilty for her role in what's been described as a terrifying sex trafficking ring. It is a victory for the women who spent years fighting to hold Ghislaine Maxwell accountable. Travis Danraj has more.
She was once part of New York City and London's social elite, partner to an American millionaire. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell faces up to 65 years in prison. A jury found the 60-year-old guilty on 5 of 6 counts related to sex crimes against minors, including sex trafficking. In court, Maxwell showed no reaction when the verdict was read. Outside, no reaction from her family as they left.
We firmly believe in Ghislaine's innocence. Obviously, we are very disappointed with the verdict. We have already started working on the appeal, and we are confident that she will be vindicated.
I want to commend the bravery of the girls, now grown women, who stepped out of the shadows and into the courtroom.
The testimony during the month-long trial was often disturbing and sexually graphic. Victims recounting abuse and grooming at the hands of Maxwell and Epstein at the financier's multiple mansions. Maxwell often sent to find young girls who could recruit others.
She has had 60 years of freedom to walk free on this earth. May she never have another day of freedom as long as she lives.
Trial lawyer Lisa Bloom, who has represented 8 of Epstein's victims, said she was moved to tears by the verdict.
She was enticing girls to come over and spend time with Jeffrey Epstein. She was teaching them how to massage him. She was normalizing the sexual behavior and even participating in it at times. It's vile stuff, and it's very damaging to the many, many victims.
Maxwell never took the stand in her own defense. Her lawyers argued she was being used as a scapegoat because prosecutors were unable to try Epstein, who killed himself in jail in 2019. No date has been set for Ghislaine Maxwell's sentencing. Travis Stanraj, CBC News, Washington.
And you're looking live at Toronto's skyline, a cloudy night with above seasonal temperatures. A pretty great day outside Toronto today, but we managed to get outside at least for a walk with the kids in the snow. Terry Loretto joins us now. Hi, Terry.
Well, hi there, and hello, Windsor, who'll be joining us tonight as well. For most of us, it's going to be mild right up until the weekend, you know, Friday night mild into 2022, when the temperatures drop off on Sunday as a cold snap arrives. So it's a bit messy the beginning of the year, and I'll show you why. Just keep your eyes on the 24-hour outlook. Things are not bad. Gray, a little bit of drizzle, a few flurries popping through the region. Windsor, that's going to start to get heavier for you folks overnight. I could see maybe 2 millimeters, 3 millimeters of rain, a little bit of a snowy mix, and then we do get a bit of sunshine popping through the clouds, struggling through before we get right back into some drizzle for the beginning of the new year. The winds are not such a big thing to worry about, but we are going to see again some fog and drizzle out there. 0 degrees for Toronto overnight tonight. Your sun rises at 7:51 on it's not a bad day. It's mild enough, but we could see some flurries in there as well. For folks in Windsor, gray, continued gray for the next 2 days with a chance of drizzle and definitely a foggy night tomorrow night. A few flurries possible overnight tonight. But again, stay tuned for your 7-day because things do get a little bit better in 2022.
Thanks, Terry. The Governor General unveiling a new list of appointments to the Order of Canada, 135 names, some of whom no doubt you will recognize. Jackie Richardson from Thornhill is a Canadian jazz legend, a leader and mentor to young performers in the music community. And then there is Robert Small. He is an artist in Toronto, and he has sketched notable Black Canadians for a legacy poster every February. There's his footage now, and he started that back when Black History Month was officially recognized in 1995.
I remember myself when I was like 10 years old that I'd never seen like even one picture that featured a Black person in it. In the schools that I went, many schools I went to, you know, I don't think I ever seen one in primary school, high school, or secondary school, you know, but I've seen other people reflected. So I feel that it's a powerful statement to be able to provide those type of images for young Black children and for children of all ethnicities as well, for them to learn about that people of various cultures have contributed to Canadian society. Being inducted into the Order of Canada, it's very inspirational for me to be inducted along the lines of people such as Denham Jolly and Jean Augustine, Rita Cox, that I've always, you know, known of Rita Cox when I was growing up, as well as Jean Augustine, and watched the exploits of Denham Jolly and other famous African Canadians. So to be following in their footsteps is definitely inspirational.
Yes, it is a big honor for Canadians doing extraordinary work. Earlier, I also had a chance to speak with another Order of Canada recipient, Mohammed Faki, is the owner of Paramount Fine Foods. He tells us about the moment he learned the news.
I was walking in downtown Toronto and I got a call from the Governor General office. And, you know, for an immigrant getting a call from any government office, you'd say, what's going on? And, you know, they told me that I'm getting the award. And, you know, I was shocked. It's nothing that I expected, but then it sunk in and I was so delighted, so happy. But I couldn't stop the tears coming out of my eyes. Like, I'm someone that arrived here with $1,000 in my pocket. And not only to be accepted and given an opportunity to build a better life for my family, I as well got celebrated the best way. And being awarded the highest honor is just amazing. It's just amazing. It's the most important moment in my life, I would say.
I believe it. I believe it for sure. And you know, the restaurant business has just been hit so hard during the pandemic, but you have made it your mission. You're one of those people that never stops. You keep giving back. You were serving meals to frontline workers, for example. Can you just talk to us a little bit about that passion and your commitment to helping others and where that comes from?
Well, I mean, this is the immigrant story. Like when I came to Canada, I've lived in a basement apartment shared with other people. I've worked in coffee time. I've done the dishwasher job, and every single job. I wasn't afraid to start at the bottom. And Canadian had helped me. They have given me the opportunity to build myself, and I've forever be giving back to the community because I'm very grateful. And I want to show that gratefulness by giving back to the community and be there for people the way they were there for me.
And you're looking live tonight at downtown Toronto. 3 degrees feels like 0 out there. Time now for a look at the full forecast. Let's bring Terry back. A lot of people might be thinking New Year's Eve plans. What can you tell us?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of great news about the weather, but at the same time, it's not all bad. 0 degrees overnight tonight, a possibility of some drizzle, fog patches moving through the GTA. Tomorrow, +1 degree with a chance of some flurries in there. Winds relatively mild, northeast at 10. So it's slightly above average for this time of year. Let's check in with our friends in Windsor who are with us this evening as well. -1 overnight tonight. Those passing drizzly for Toronto could be flurries for you as you go down below 0. But you bump back up tomorrow to 3 degrees, a foggy night in store. Let's take a look at the 24-hour outlook. The white is snow, the green is rain, and that purpley mix is sort of that wintry, messy mix. So we do have a possibility of some drizzle, freezing rain moving through before things actually get back to a little bit of clearing skies on Friday, but that's a harbinger of some systems that could bring some rain on Saturday. How much rain? It's not a lot. I'm saying between 1 and 3 millimeters, but it's just going to be enough if you are traveling for the weekend or the end of the week, Thursday, Friday. You just want to make sure that the temperatures aren't putting that ice on the roads. Let's take a look at your 7-day. Things are continued gray for the GTA. Overnight's getting a little bit colder. This is beginning of 2022. Then boom, that's where that Arctic air starts to arrive from northern Ontario, pushing through with a system from the States that's going to be a wintry mess on Sunday, but the sun struggles back into the forecast on Monday despite colder temperatures in here. So a mild start and then a cold and messy finish, a beginning rather to 2022. And pretty much the same story for Windsor as well, although your Friday looks a bit better than the GTA with the sun actually breaking through the clouds at times and a high of 8 degrees. But that Arctic mass also arrives for you with a bit of messy weather on Sunday before brightening up on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So yeah, it's not perfect, but I'll definitely take the 8 on Friday. I'll leave you with some great pictures of people, well, dogs are people, aren't they, enjoying the snow. This one from Nina in Milton. That's Manny. And this one was from Maryse, who was taking a bit of a snowshoe and realized that, you know what, winter can be beautiful. Just be careful on the roads when we get that wintry mix coming through.
Good advice. Thanks so much, Terry. That is our show for tonight. Thank you so much for watching. For news anytime, you can head over to our website, cbc.ca, and I'll see you here again tomorrow night starting at 6 o'clock and then again at 11. Have a great night.